Hi, Angelica. Thank you for being here today, and thank you all for joining us. My name is Tanya Dahl. I'm the Senior Marketing and Communications Director at Camelback Ventures, and I am very excited to host this humble and hungry conversation with an incredible educator, entrepreneur, and innovator. Angelica Jackson is a co-founder of the Phoenix International School of the Arts located in Charles County, Maryland. Angelica was also a 2022 Camelback Fellow, and we appreciate you joining us and taking the time to share more about your founder story and what you've been up to really since wrapping up the fellowship. Angelica, let's get started with your why. In a few words, how has entrepreneurship kind of changed your life?
Well, first, Tanya, thank you so much for having me. I love the title Humble and Hungry because that's what it is out here as an entrepreneur. And so I am just so honored to be able to be in conversation and in community with you today. When I think about my why and how entrepreneurship has changed my life, um, I first think about legacy and me wanting to change what has happened in my family for generations, where we would have new generations being born into the world and we just did not have much to come into the world with. And as I thought about my life, my legacy, and began to expand my family, I thought, well, I want to be able to leave something to my family and to my community once I either leave this space geographically or when I leave this earth as we know it. So that really is the key driver for why I wanted to pursue entrepreneurship. And also because I really wanted to flex my anthropological muscles. I studied anthropology, cultural anthropology in undergrad, and I absolutely love learning why people do things that they do. And there is so much ethnographic research that can happen when pursuing entrepreneurship. And in particularly in education as well, getting to know young people and how they learn, what motivates them to learn, and then how they then use what they learn in the real world and how they give back to their community. So I will say just the legacy, the ability to create generational wealth, and then specifically in education entrepreneurship, being able to really get to know young people and what makes them tick and what motivates them.
Angelica, thank you for sharing your why and what propelled you into this space, especially the education space. Can you share a little bit more about life experiences and what you saw in your community to pave the way for Phoenix?
Sure. Well, so our Phoenix International School of the Arts, it is a public charter school in Charles County, Maryland, which is a rural suburban area, predominantly African American families. About 80%, over 80% of the youth in this area are youth of color. And historically, there just has not been a lot of differentiated education models in Southern Maryland, period, but especially in Charles County. You have the traditional public school sector, and then that was it. We do have a few parochial schools, but that is out of reach for a lot of families in this community. And I am from Charles County, and so I grew up with that, having to go through the public school system, which is fine. But when it came to me, I enjoyed learning in a more creative way. I like to be hands on. I found that when I was younger, I really wanted to be in acting and singing, and I never had those opportunities or the opportunity to learn in that way in Charles County. So when I returned to my hometown in 2018, I found it was still the same. It was still the same thing. Like after all of these years, I don't want to age myself, but after all of these years, um, young people were still learning the same way. And several of, because this is very much small town, I still knew a lot of um, parents and teachers in the education system, and they all knew my background in education and in arts education in particular, and in nonprofit management. And many of them asked me, well, when are you going to start an art school? When are you going to start an art school? Our kids need it. I had families crying. I would take Zoom calls and just ask them what they were looking for, and they would be crying. Grown men, adults, women crying on Zoom, saying that their kids aren't feeling seen. They don't feel like they belong. When they see their children at home and see them in their activities and things that they love to do, they're excelling and they show so much personality. But when they hear their reports from their teachers about their children, it's like a child that they don't even know. And I had to do something after a certain point. After so many conversations, I had to do something, and so that certainly aligned with my desire to want to get into entrepreneurship, to build solutions, and to build legacy in my community. So I began to put pen to paper, put a team together, and I started on this journey to become the first ever approved public charter school in a county that historically is not charter. I would say charter friendly. So that is where it all started. Really, just wanting to be in community and provide a solution for my neighbors, so that they can have a learning environment that felt inclusive, that was differentiated, that really prepared kids to just, if they want to pursue entrepreneurship or for varied career options. That's how it started.
Angelica, you touched upon some of the challenges of you deciding to go down this road, and that was my next question for you. So many people say they want to be a founder, they want to start a venture, they want to do this, but there are so many challenges, so many hurdles, particularly in the education system. You
Yeah.
talk about two. You said you had families heartbroken, right, that their kids aren't performing the way that they should, or they're not getting the support that they should, and the second thing that you talked about were charter schools, right? Like not being able to open a charter school in an education system, in a public school system that's not charter school friendly. Can you talk a little bit more? Where those seem like those are pretty big challenges. Can you talk about those, or anything else that you've had to
overcome
yeah.
and
Thank you.
navigate and manage? Yes,
The struggle is real. The struggle is real. The struggle to find
absolutely.
words, and then also the struggle in education. It's all
Just
real.
talking about it. So certainly I would say the biggest challenge and then lesson learned is negotiating and navigating the power dynamic between a large bureaucratic agency and nonprofit, or for me in particular, in this charter world. And so with public school system being the only option for education in my community for so long, they have never had to be held accountable or really be questioned for how they operate, decisions that they make that impact young people. And so I've had to negotiate our charter agreement, which is the contract between my nonprofit and the school system to operate a charter school, and I've had to really stand up for families in the community and be a voice for those families with this bureaucratic agency, right? And what I would say the greatest learning that I've had is that school systems, they are purposed to manage and eradicate liability. Like that's their biggest goal. So anyone out there that is wanting to open a public charter school, think about that perspective. That is what they're there to do. So I had to learn that, and I had to realize how to what language to use, and how to make sure that I'm coming into meetings prepared in a way that they understand, so that I can really open doors for families where they haven't been able to kind of get through to the school system in that way ever before. So that was one really great learning and challenge that I'm overcoming. And then I would also say, for me, because my background again is in education and is in nonprofit management, the what I realized getting into education entrepreneurship, and founding a school is really getting into the business of real estate. And I do not have a background in commercial real estate. So but I can put really great people together to get things done. And so identifying who my strengths and weaknesses and who I needed at this table to be able to successfully open the school. And so that commercial real estate piece, I feel like I can write a book about it now, with me coming in, and then particularly in a more rural suburban area, me coming in as this young Black woman, just a community member, some may say a layman, and then coming into this space, this commercial real estate development space, where it was primarily white men, older white men too, was a task. And so just learning how to understand what they value, understand the specific terms in real estate development, was a great challenge for me. And again, I'm still learning. But those were the two very, I would say, the biggest mountains I've had to climb, that commercial real estate development, and just navigating the power dynamic of negotiating with a large bureaucratic agency.
Angelica, this is why this conversation is called Humble and Hungry. Because I think the sign of a really good leader is to say, hey, I know what my superpowers are, but I also know what my areas of development are, and then surrounding yourself, as you said, with a team to help counter that. So thank you for sharing that and showing up authentically. And I think a lot of people, sometimes the ego gets in the way, and you're like, I know everything, I can do everything, I got all the skills, or I can figure it out. I think that's like critical. So thank you for sharing.
Yes, I mean, entrepreneur is essentially synonymous with lifelong learner, because we are constantly learning about ourselves and understanding that, I guess, just growing our self awareness, but then also always learning about our customer or client or whoever the community we're seeking to serve. We're constantly learning from them, and in order to be successful, we have to be in that mindset of learning.
This is a good segue, because what would you tell younger Angelica? What would you say to younger Angelica who, wants to go on this journey as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as an educator in this space? What would you have told yourself, I guess, like, let's say 10, 15 years, whatever, even 5 years ago, whatever time
Right.
frame you choose, what would you have told your younger self? What advice would you have?
Sure. So certainly the piece about surrounding yourself with either like-minded or like-minded people who have done the things that I have an idea that I want to do, even when I'm just in that idea stage, just to hear what the conversations they're having, the language they're using. I mean, anything from, I had a conversation recently, um, with a woman, and we were talking about just building relationships with banks and just hearing some of the language. And this woman, is an African American woman who owns several commercial properties, and so just hearing the language that she was using, I would tell my younger self, build up that social capital. And I think because I come from a rural environment, I can be perceived as coming in at a disadvantage compared to my peers who one, upper income peers, and then also peers that may be in more metropolitan areas. And so I would, um, I would certainly say, like, go the extra mile to meet the people, that doing the things that I want to do. And I can tell, like, that is so ingrained in me, because in the work that I do to develop PISOTA, I'm making sure that our kids have explicit pathways to experts and real life experiences so that they can build their social capital. And then I would also say to take myself seriously, like, take yourself seriously, girl, because while it may just be an idea, a little spark, it can be a big, it can be, it can be real. And so, while I love to joke around, I'm very lighthearted, but when it comes to the work and the things that I'm passionate about, I would tell myself to continue to take yourself seriously and believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, why would anyone else want to? Right?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think I needed to hear that today too. So thank you.
Yes.
We need to hear that every day.
Every day we need those reminders.
Every day. Angelica, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit. You were a Camelback Fellow in 2022. So I just wanted to take a moment here to share with folks tuning in a little bit more about your Camelback Fellowship experience. How do you think, how was that for you? How has Camelback, if at all, helped you grow as a founder?
Absolutely, yes. Camelback is it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to put in words what Camelback is because it has just been such a beautiful community to be a part of. Camelback Ventures, um, the CEO, Aaron, the founder, he has worked magic, and I know it's not magic, like it's actual, it's strategic, but he has been able to put together such an amazing team of humans that are genuinely invested and interested in the success of each fellow and their ventures. And there are not many, I've done several different fellowships. And then I would also include like even my grad programs and things like that. There there are not many organizations that really rally behind their fellows and their ventures, and want to put every single resource and network that they have in front of that person. And Camelback does that. And it has been such a respite for me in this journey to be able to be in community with the folks at Camelback and the fellows that they bring together as well. So I know there's a formula for identifying who becomes a part of the fellowship. And everyone, my cohort specifically is who I had experience with, just really cool people, eager to learn from one another and to support one another to connect. And so it has just been such um, a wonderful feeling and experience being a part of the Camelback Ventures Fellowship.
Angelica, thank you for sharing that. We're going to transition. So, you learned a lot. You had coaches. You had a pretty intensive curriculum through the Camelback Fellowship,
Mhm.
but maybe you heard it during the fellowship. Maybe you didn't. Maybe elsewhere. What's the best piece of advice you've received on your entrepreneurial journey?
Sure. Oh, gosh, best piece of advice. Um, okay, I have a couple. One is fire fast and hire slow. So that actually one of my early advisors, Laura Wang of from the University of Pennsylvania, I was in a graduate program in partnership with the Wharton School of Business. So she was a Wharton professor, and she was an early advisor for one of my early ventures. I had a tech venture back in the day,
Okay.
and she shared that, and it has stuck with me because it's so important. Again, I was just speaking to the strategy and the intentionality with how Camelback has hired their team members. And so it's so important. It makes all the difference who you bring on your team, especially at this early stage or I'll say early stage ventures. And so that stuck with me. And then the other piece, I think I certainly needed to hear is to make the ask, whatever that ask may be, make the ask and continue to make the ask, and not to doubt yourself when you're making that ask. So those two pieces of advice. That second one, make the ask. I am constantly, again, something I constantly need to be reminded to just ask, and don't doubt yourself when you do it. But those are the two pieces that I would say have really gotten me to where I am now, where I have raised over $1 million before the school has even opened.
That's incredible. And I think you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people stall or they're nervous. Worst case scenario, you get shut down, right? Like someone says, nope, we can't help you, but you don't know unless you ask. And then you do ask, and maybe doors open for you too.
Yes. No for me means, and I was actually some of our founding families, I was telling them this. No means not yet. In this world, it just means not yet. And a lot of times I've realized that that not yet is actually for the better sometimes. Like the timing just isn't right. So yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Legacy. So let's talk about, we talked about your past, what you would have, the advice you would have given your younger self.
Mhm.
Now looking ahead, what kind of legacy are you hoping to leave behind with Phoenix?
Just an indelible impact, positive impact on my community. Um, for those young people who may be struggling in traditional school, um, for those young people like me who was in search of a creative community, because that community is what would literally save their lives. This is what PISOTA is meant to be. It's meant to be a place where children who learn differently, who need to be more hands on and engaged, um, who need a smaller community to feel seen, this is for them. And I hope that as they continue to grow and move on in their life journey, that they're able to come back and give to the young people who are in the school after them. So really, it's just I'm hoping for this cyclical nature of um, love, of creativity, of inspiration. And I just think it'll be so cool for all of that to be housed at PISOTA for generations to come.
Angelica, you have a lot happening
Yes.
for the rest of the year. So let's talk about, thank you for sharing your legacy. You want that legacy to continue. You want students to thrive. What's next for PISOTA in 2023 and beyond? I know you have some events coming up, some campaigns coming up. Can you share that information?
As a nonprofit, we are always fundraising. And so with that being said, we're thinking creatively as we fundraise, and we have a benefit concert coming up on June 1st. So anyone who is in the DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia area, we are bringing high quality Grammy nominated artists, classically trained artists to little old Charles County in Southern Maryland. So we have a benefit concert featuring Avery Sunshine, who is a soul jazz artist, um, uh, on June 1st, and those tickets are on sale now.
Can you share the information? Where can people
I
track you down?
can, yes. So if you go to our Instagram page, which is PISOTA CCPS, and click on the link in our bio, our link tree, it has the link to purchase tickets or sponsorships for organizations who want to get in front of families and the Southern Maryland community. And we also have our ribbon cutting this fall in August. August 7th is our ribbon cutting, and it'll be a strong political presence there. We'll have several companies who have partnered with us on this journey to opening. They will be there. We'll have some youth performances. It is really going to be a celebration to kick off the school year, but to really honor that this is the first Black founded public school in Charles County in Southern Maryland. It is the first public charter school in Charles County. So we are, you know what? I'm taking a moment to celebrate those accomplishments, to celebrate the accomplishments of our team. So that ribbon cutting that is hosted by the Charles County Chamber of Commerce will be on August 7th. And again, you can go to our link tree to find all of that information.
Angelica, this is historic. You
It
must be so proud.
is.
You deserve it. Let's just pause. I wish we had some balloon. I wish we had
I
confetti and
know.
balloons and all the things. We are so excited
Thank
for you.
you.
We will share all this information with our network too. And thank you for joining today. One more time, how can people get in touch with PISOTA? How can they support y'all? Can you share your
Absolutely.
website too?
Yes, I sure can. So you can go to PISOTA.org. That's PISOTA.org. And that is where you can learn about who we are and what we are doing in the Southern Maryland community. You can also follow the nonprofit that operates the school, and that Instagram is, that website is phoenixinternationalschools.org, because our larger vision is that we grow this school model in other rural areas that serve primarily African American communities. So as we were thinking about the South Carolinas, the Mississippi Delta, as we grow, that's what we're thinking about. So you can stay tuned on that growth by visiting phoenixinternationalschools.org, and then follow us on social media at PISOTA CCPS. That's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And then you can also tap in with me on LinkedIn. It's linkedin.com/n/Angelica Jackson.
Angelica, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanya.